Right, well, it is 7:15, and as promised, we will get started. I will call this meeting to order on January the 24th, 2021 at 7:15. Thank you for staying. Thank you for your interest and your involvement. This meeting is about our budget for this year and an end-of-year summary. We intended to have this meeting on Sunday night, December 27th. There was possible exposure of COVID to the Stangers, and so they were unable to be here on the 27th. And I said, well, I don't want to have it without our treasurer there. Then, as you know, we did not have Sunday night services for the next 2 weeks, so it's been a little bit of a headache getting this in, but we want to have it. We wanted to have it as soon as we could, and so we're having it tonight. Our treasurer is Logan Stanger, and he is going to come and do a presentation of our end of year, how we came out last year, and then he will give the highlights of the proposed upcoming budget. There are some changes. Honestly, my attitude in the meetings with our men, which, by the way, the finance committee were myself, Brother Logan, Jeff Nickel, Virgil McCrae, it's on the screen, Michael Bradovic, and Tony Trammell, and I don't think I left any, and Brother Doug, being on staff, was also a part of that. And so, with that we have approved building plans. There are still final details, things mechanical, electrical, plumbing, things of that nature that are still being finalized on that, but overall we have approval for the plans by the county, and now we're in the, I guess you'd call the financing phase of it. That's not what tonight's meeting is about. We don't have any kind of loan offers to entertain. I can tell you this, we won't accept anything like that without the church taking action on it. So there'll be a meeting, hopefully in the very near future about that, but I can't say exactly when that'll be. But I believe it'll be soon, and we'll just schedule the meeting and have it as soon as we can. But tonight is about just giving the proposed budget. There's not a whole lot of changes, but there are some. If you have any questions about them, we'll, of course, address those. But I'm going to moderate the meeting, but I'm going to turn it over to Brother Logan to come and do the presentation. And then when he's done, I'll come back up, see if there's any questions or anything that needs to be said or asked or answered, and then we'll ask for a motion, a second, and a vote. So that's how we'll do it tonight. Brother Logan, come on up and share with us what you have. Just stand behind the pulpit.
That's fancy. I guess I'm not up here that much, so I didn't know this was here. That's nice. All right, great. Well, I guess my audience is normally between the ages of 12 and 15 at the junior high, so this is a little bit different demographics in terms of what I'm used to talking to at the junior high building. But as Matt said, transparency is very important for us, and it's very important for me in this position. I've been doing this for about 3 years, and I've loved it. It's something I enjoy. I enjoy working with the numbers, but it's also a way for me to serve. And I think ultimately that's our calling, and I take it very seriously, and I'm very happy and excited to share what we got here. So with that being said, you already cut into my slides, Matt, but that's okay. But this is the group of men that was on that's on the finance committee. We did add Brother Tony this year, and I appreciate him stepping in. He's been a great addition to the team, so thank Tony for his time and efforts in terms of serving on our team. Before we get into the real fiscal numbers, I just want to say it's been a great year. It's been a great year for our church, not only just fellowship and just the way that we've been in the Word every week, but financially we've really thrived. And there's not a whole lot of churches in the area that can say that, and that's just a testament to the people that are a part of this church. It's been incredible. I'm almost getting emotional talking about it because you just hear of a lot of churches that are closing and not really having the same opportunities that we have here, and we do. So we've been thriving this year, and I'm just really excited to go over and share it with you guys. Um, Also, I want to clarify this. If you have any problems, see Doug Kraus. Okay, so any complaints, see Doug, not me. Okay, great. Yeah, I said, yeah. Um, and then really, as we put together this budget, we met 3 to 4 times in November and December, just the financial committee as we were putting together the budget, and also I was just bringing the group up to speed with how we've been doing this year. All right, next slide. We're good. Okay, so income, uh, really just some cliff notes of this. We nearly brought in 400,000, which is, like I said, it's incredible. Given the year of COVID, given the year of so many unforeseen circumstances, it's a testament. I mean, we really grew a ton in income, and from last year into this year, and that's wonderful. It's really great to see. So nearly 400,000 in income. The expenses, like I said, 386 in the ballpark of that. But if you can read that in the italics, I really wanted to make an emphasis in terms of what the makeup of that is. Essentially, we're paying ourselves. Okay, the 212,845. That is either going into a $10,000 monthly transfer, which we put in the budget, which we've been paying ourselves, but that's going to count as an expense. All right, so that's 120,000 right there. And then also we've made some purchases and investments in the building itself. I know Ms. Wright, you can talk more about that in detail in terms of our building plans. I know Brother Matt can as well. But we've had to make some purchases with the building process. But essentially, 212 of that 386 has been towards things that we are working towards and we're planning for. So that's wonderful. But obviously, I still like to count it as an expense. I'm a little bit of a numbers guy with that. I got to have everything accounted for. But essentially, we're hanging on to that or using it to things that we're working towards. So don't be discouraged by the 386. So really, we're looking sharp there. And then you can see the remainder of the expenses are just in our general operating expenses, which is towards staff compensation, ministry, which I'll get into in a little bit. All right, I'm good. Building fund contributions, like I said, that's a combination of the $10,000 monthly transfer and additional membership tithing or giving towards the program. So we gathered in 163,345 for the year of 2020. Again, incredible that we're able to really have that fiscal responsibility as a church and just have the membership to support that. It's a testament to our group. I mean, it really is. Like I said, there's a lot of churches that have not been able to do certain things to just keep their doors open. So wonderful there. The expenses, like I said, those are just some of the things that we invested our money for this year. Like I said, Ms. Wright, Brother Matt, they can talk more about what those expenses were in detail, but those are just the cliff notes. You guys, we showed the blueprints and the renderings a couple months ago. In order to get those, we had to invest in that. But they have more details on the building plan, but just know that that's kind of what that amount was for this year. Okay. Next slide. Awesome. So despite the expenses totaling up to the 386 number, we still were in the net income of 13,000. But like I said, a majority of those expenses we're paying ourselves essentially. But we were still in the black, as I like to say, for the 13. So that was really great, and I just made a little note there in terms of how we were still plus 13 despite paying ourselves that large amount there. So that's really good. The staff compensation, I like to speak in percentages because that gives everybody a pretty good comparison in terms of where we're at. Compensation for this year, for 2020, was about 33%. I can't really speak on what other churches are, where they're at, but from what Pastor Matt tells me, that's we're in a good place with our percentages in terms of how we've been landmarking and earmarking our expenses. So about 33% of those expenses was staff compensation. Like I said, almost half of our expenses was towards ourselves or towards the building program, so that's excellent. Okay. Ministry expenses, that basically includes our, let's see here, like guest speakers, special singers, revival, homecoming, things of that nature. That's really our expenses. Sunday school materials, anything that you could think of besides paying utilities, that is what the ministry expenses are. So about 15%, 14% there. And then our utilities are extremely manageable. And then keep in mind that does include the property out in front with the house. So, about 6% in terms of how we spend our money for 2020. As of December 31st, those are the totals that we had in our accounts. So in terms of our fiscal assets, we had a total of $264,479. Amen. That's right. That's right. Pastor Matt, I wasn't expecting to get an amen up here about the finances, but that feels good. This is a good feeling. All right, that's good. So, but you guys are absolutely right. That's incredible. That's where we're at, and obviously, you guys know our assets. We have the property. We have a lot of things working in our favor there. So, in terms of fiscal assets, that's where we were. And just to give you guys, I made a note as of 15 minutes ago. Checking account was at $32.62. Savings is $85,750. Missions at $15,732. Building at $138,040. And the youth's at $1,508.98 for a total of $273.93. So $273,093.50. So, and that's as of 15 minutes ago. So, but just, yeah, thank you. And I was actually joking with Brother Bob in the back. I said the people they're gonna really get on me about the month of October up here, but I have an explanation, so everybody just calm down. We didn't have a hole in the wallet or anything else like that, so I didn't go on a spending spree, so everybody just, all right, great. I didn't get any dagger eyes either, so that's good. But really, I'm a visual person, so I like to kind of show. It's always good when you're climbing up, just like that game, The Price is Right? Like when the guy's climbing up the mountain. So it's really good that we're in that place. And like I said, the month of October for 2020, we spent $41,500 towards. And Miss Wright, you can expand on that a little bit more, but we had to make the investment with the building, so that had to be paid out of the checking account because the building fund is just it's strictly a savings account. So we had to come out of checking, which is why that's registered as an expense there. And then we actually, we really opened up the fund a little bit in terms of revival and homecoming. So we did a lot. We had a tent. So there was a lot of things that we did that month, which was great for our church. But it was obviously expenses were a little bit heavy there, but the $41,500 for the building was really what caused that to happen. But either way, that's where we're at. And then that's just a breakdown in terms of where we were with our total assets. I know that's hard for everybody to see, but that's just a running total of where we were. Bob, could you go back a slide, actually? Thanks. So February, we were at 125,000, and then in December, we ended at 264. It is. I don't know. That's why I said I was very emotional in the beginning because it's incredible. You don't see a lot of buildings doing this. So testament to our people. So, okay. So the overview. Okay. So now talking about next year, and obviously we have a question slide at the end, and we can get to that at the end here. But the 2021 projected budget, and just before I get into the details, this is not line by line, but I do want to go ahead and clarify that I have that available. So if you would like a copy of this, I talked to Pastor Matt. If you'd like a copy of it, please see me, and I'll make sure that you leave with one, okay? But again, I didn't want to go through everybody passing this out and things like that. But if you would like a copy, my door's always open, and I'll make sure you leave with one tonight, okay? So just see me after the meeting, and I'll make sure you get one, okay? Good with, is that okay, Pastor? All right. So that'll be ready to go. Bob, can I go back a slide? I'm sorry. Okay, so things that we are changing, and I know Pastor Matt's going to talk about this. Um, it's good to just challenge ourselves. We're moving the building fund transfer from 10,000 to 12,500. We feel like that's certainly achievable, and we can make that happen. And obviously, if that needs reduced, and we're just monitoring that, we can make that adjustment. But we feel like we can do the 12.5. The committee felt like that was appropriate, so we made that increase for next year. And keep in mind that basically occurs on the 30th or the 31st of every month, except the month of February. Remember that, kids. Okay, none of the kids are paying attention, so that's okay. And then, like I said, the line items, as I have here, they are remaining very close to what we had last year. Obviously, we made some changes based on our monitoring throughout the year, but for the most part, they're going to stay pretty similar. All right, I'm good now, Bob. Okay, so projected expenses, like I said, they should remain pretty close to where they were last year. Again, we're projecting the 382, 375, 36. Last year, expenses were about 386. I can't remember off the top of my head, but so a little bit less. But again, that's including the transfer of the 12.5, so that's an increase there. And we also have some. Well, I'll get into that in the next slide. Yeah.
Last year was our first budget, so we learned some things. Aren't going to be as much as we thought they were, and other things are a little more than we thought they were. That's why even though we're increasing in one area, it's still staying similar to what it was last year.
Right. Okay, I'm good. Okay, so compensation. Like I said, slight increase because we want to make sure that, and Pastor Matt can talk about this in a little bit in terms of how that's changed with the staff compensation. Church buildings, like I said, utilities, still projecting about 6%. I feel comfortable with that 6%, not because the cost of utilities should increase, but we had a bit of a pipe issue in the back when we did a baptism. Which almost made me have a heart attack because of the price of our water bill, which we get paid billed bi-monthly. So I almost had a heart attack.
We had a busted pipe in the field.
Yeah, it was in the field, and obviously we had no idea, and they weren't very kind enough to let us know that happened. So we just get billed for it, and I almost fell out of my chair. So that was great. Anyway, with that, even though we're still about 6% from last year, so we anticipate that to stay pretty close. And then about 17% would be our ministries, like I said, homecoming, fall revival, etc. Okay, so building fund expenses, like I said, it's just a savings account. So I can't write checks out of the building fund account. It will just be paid out of transfers from the building fund to the checking account, and I'll just write the checks out of the general account as I have been doing. So that's how we'll handle that. To be honest with you, I didn't want to make a comment in terms of the building expenses for this year because I didn't want to commit and give you false information, and I'd rather somebody who's more knowledgeable than I be able to talk on that. So, right, as Pastor Matt said, we're still waiting on some information there, but obviously it's an exciting thing to be able to anticipate. So in terms of the plans for this year, like I said in the beginning, transparency is key. We feel that we're always looking for ways to make sure that the membership knows what is going on, and our main responsibility, and mine personally, is to be good stewards of our finances. That's my initiative, and I know that's my responsibility, and I take that very seriously. So in efforts to do that, our group will meet quarterly, specifically in April, July, October, just after each quarter of the year, so that way we can review and see where we're at and track our expenses there. What else do I got up there?
We will have a monthly church-wide or a quarterly church-wide report, kind of like you're doing tonight this year.
So. 4 times a year.
Yeah.
Excellent. So 4 times a year I'll get to do this, and I'll get more comfortable with this mic up here. So wonderful. Appreciate that. As long as I'm doing okay.
Yeah,
Okay. All
doing
right.
fine.
Okay. Great. Questions for me or thoughts?
I'll come up there for the questioning time in case.
Okay. Yes, sir.
We think we are going for um, a total. Morton Builders is saying about 1.6, and we think the total cost will be about 1.9. Is that correct? Is that what we're 1.9 million? Um, we are not exactly sure what kind of financing will be offered to us. Now, the way the finances of this church have went over the last few years, I'm confident. I'm confident because I know God, but I'm confident just because of how things have been going, that we'll be able to secure whatever financing we need for the building. But, Heather and I have been trying to personally refinance something, and we were told by that bank that everything is double right now in terms of how long it's taking. Now, they did not tell me that at our bank for the church, but it does take some time. We're being looked at right now, but there's nothing been offered to then bring to the church and say, this is the loan amount, this is the payment, this is the interest rate. We just don't have that yet. I think we are very, very close to having that.
If I could add something on that, with the financing piece, there's a lot of good things that are working in our favor for the building financing. Specifically through the bank, testament to the church. I mean, being members of First Financial Bank for a long time. Ever since 1960.
We've been with that bank for 51 years.
So that works in our favor. But ultimately, we've also been paying ourselves what an appropriate mortgage payment would most likely be for the building, and we've been able to handle that. And I've been able to speak with the manager there, and they enjoy seeing that as well.
So, I mean, we know it's going to be around 1.9, and as soon as we say, hey, here's what we need to decide if we're going to accept or not, we will bring that to the church. I'll be ready to shout it from the mountaintops as soon as I have it. I just don't have it tonight. So that is, but our plan is to increase from $10,000 a month to $12,500, because we feel like we're paying what would be reasonably expected to be a mortgage payment. So, but we don't know exactly what that payment will be. But we're stepping up in what we're doing and trying to save. And I can promise you this: we're trying to be as financially responsible as we possibly can. You may have noticed there's an increase on compensation from like 32.7% to 35%. That is not a weekly paycheck increase. That is an increase due to medical insurance, cell phone use, and mileage compensation. Those sorts of things brought an increase, but it's not a increase in the monthly paycheck. I told the finance committee my one big thing I wanted to impress on them is let's try to keep it as stable as we can. Everything as stable as we can, because after all, we're being looked at right now, and so that was our hope. So everywhere that can stay the same, we're trying to do that. There's increase in ministries a little bit this year over last year, just due to some things are just cost of doing business goes up year over year. Last year was our first budget, and there were some things that we just didn't think of that then we saw and said that needs to be included in next year's budget. Something like there was no benevolence fund in last year's. How in the world I forgot about that, I don't know, but this year we put it in there. So, but things are pretty similar to last year. But anyway, that's more on the building, but we're just not quite there. I wish I could say here's the financing details. We just don't have it just yet, but it's very close.
Greg, did you say you had another question? No? Okay.
Well, in my mind, Morton is getting back to us on a few of the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing details that will finalize. They told me, they said, preacher, 1.6. We're probably going to be a little less than that, but they said you can get started on what you need to do with 1.6. We're still waiting for a few things from the builder, from the actual builder. Is that correct, Gail? And then we're waiting to hear back from the bank. And so, in my mind, we would go as soon as we have financing secured and the church votes to do it. We're off and running. That's my thinking on that. Yes. Mhm. Yeah.
Excellent. Any other questions? This is fun. This feels. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Appreciate that. So,
Well, if
uh,
women,
so I'll add a couple of things. Well said. Couldn't have said it much better. Secondly, women rock, and you're exactly right. So, we're very well said there. So, absolutely. But just you said it very very well in terms of the pastors being very humble with this. They obviously that was proposed by the committee. They didn't listen to it for a second, and obviously that's credit to them in terms of just being very humble in their approach, and I'm very blessed and thankful for that. But at the same time, you make very valid points, and I'll let Pastor Matt talk more about that. But just know, what's that?
well, I have a suggestion. I have an idea. What I'd like to do is, Gail mentioned some specific numbers, 2.5%, 3%. Out of our finance committee has worked and crafted this budget. Would it be fair to say, let's reassemble the committee this week If we can get a vote on everything else in the thing tonight, reassemble them this week, and I'll stay out of that meeting, and they can bring a proposal next week, and it won't be a long meeting. It'll just be 2.5%, yay or nay, and or or, or whatever. But I think that's a fair way. Okay. Well, I am touched. I appreciate that. Well, I love this church. I love being your pastor. But I think that's a good orderly way to do that. Let's have them meet, talk it over, see, because they've been through all of this, and I would like for them to, because anytime something like this, it wasn't planned, and so let's let them talk about it and bring something next week. Um, all right. Anything else about the budget?
Any other questions?
And I'll just stay out of
Yes.
that. I won't be in that meeting, and next Sunday the church can do its thing and whatever.
Yes,
So,
sir.
all right, yes. Okay. Let's let them assemble this week. If you're in the know on that, and you're not on the finance committee, and you have an opinion, you share it with them, and then they'll discuss it and bring a proposal next week. And it might be something, it might be nothing, and let's do it that way. I think that's a good way to do it. Okay.
Any other questions? I'm doing a lot of sidestepping for the last two, so that was really getting the hang of that. So you're
Wednesday night, Logan and I will co-preach the message. I'll do a point, he can do a point, and I'll do.
all good.
Gotta
Anybody
laugh,
else?
folks. Gotta laugh a little
Questions or
bit.
comments? Yes, sir.
Has to be serious questions only. All right.
Any other questions? No. Just to conclude, at least my part. Again, 2020 was a very challenging year in a lot of ways with COVID, and it was a very tough year. But in terms of fiscally for this church, in terms of what I can report on, it was excellent for us. And the numbers, everything's backed by the numbers on that, and it's a testament to our church and to our membership.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as you'll have me, I love what I do, and I enjoy being able to serve our church in this manner, and it's something I take a lot of pride in because I want to do it the right way.
All right. Okay. If there are no questions, one thing that I want to, and there's no reason why we can't do this. We're doing very well in missions. I want to propose tonight that in addition to what we're currently doing with missionaries, we add to our missions roster Mitch and Jacqueline McCormick to Peru. And I tell you what, let's do it this way. Let's do 2 votes so this makes sense to everyone. If there are no other questions, um, with the exception of the item of the compensation, which is being tabled for a little further discussion, do we have a motion to accept the rest of the budget? Is there a motion? Brother Moore, motions. Do we have a second? Brother Lee, second. Any questions before we take it to a floor vote? Okay, all in favor indicate by an uplifted hand. All right. Any opposed votes? Okay, it passes by a unanimous vote. I would urge the church and would like to lead the church in taking on 2 new mission families. We've had them both in since September. The McCormicks were here in September. The Youngs were here in November, and so they've been here recently. Normally we make adjustments to our missionaries at the missions conference. We didn't have a missions conference last year, so it's been a while since we've added anybody. First, it would be Mitch and Jacqueline McCormick to Peru, and they were set to leave in December, and they did leave. They left. They are not fully 100% at their support total, but they were close enough to go, and so they are on the field. They were here in September. They are now on the field. So they're doing exactly what they said they were going to do, church planting missionaries to Peru, out of Vision Baptist, who we have some other missionaries that we support out of there. And so I would ask that we would take them on. Do we have a motion to add them to our missions? All right. Brother Greg makes a motion. Do we have a second? All right, Brother Steve, we'll let you second this one. All in favor, would you raise your hand? All right. Any opposed? And it so passes. Then my second suggestion would be Mitch and, that was the one we just did, Graham and Olivia Young to Nigeria. They were here the second week of November, and they're planning to go to Nigeria. Brother Doug, do you remember when they are slated to leave? This year is this year is when they plan to leave. I believe they're on deputation right now. Great young couple, did a great job while they were here. They were here on a Sunday morning, and again they come from the same place, same mission board as the McCormicks, and they're going to Nigeria. And I vote we take them on for monthly support, just like our other missionaries, $100 a month. Do we have a motion? And by the way, that's what we do the McCormicks for as well. Do we have a motion? Brother Alan Tolson makes a motion. Do we have a second? All right, Seth, we'll let you second that one. All in favor, would you raise your hand? Okay. Any opposed? And it so passes. All right. So we have a budget. We have 2 new missionaries, and we have tabled the compensation for the Finance Committee to discuss a proposal that's been made, and we can make a vote of that next Sunday.
Yep.
Okay.
And I got some add-on.
Okay.
For the mission, I didn't have any details in terms of just other than what the account value is. How we do missions is at the end of each month, I just have an electronic check sent to whichever organization or whatever board they're running from, and that's sent at the end of each month. It's very regular. We've been able to really stay consistent at that dollar amount.
We're current
all
with all
year.
of our
I mean, that
missionaries.
stays pretty flatlined across the year, so we've been able to maintain that. And there was another.
We use the mission fund when we have missionary guests in too.
Correct.
When we need to provide
that's
lodging
what I was
and
thinking.
so
That
forth.
the missions are not specifically listed out in this budget. If you would like a copy. But obviously, if you need to know which missions that we do support, I'm happy to provide that for you as well. Yeah. So, but that will not be in here, the mission specific. But if you would like that, I can get you a copy. So, last thing is giving statements. If you didn't get that this morning, I have those. So see me after church or after the meeting. And then if you need a budget, just see me back there, and I'll get you a copy. That's it for me.
Okay. All right. Well, we have no further agenda items in tonight's meeting, so if anyone would like to make a motion that we adjourn, stand. We have a second. We got 2 that are standing. All right. All in favor, stand. And it is for the minutes. It's 7:54. We will adjourn the meeting, and I'll close us in prayer. God bless you. Thank you for your cooperation, your interest in staying a little extra time tonight. Thank you to those that served on our finance committee and for those that asked questions tonight. And hopefully it was, clear and so forth. So let's close with a word of prayer at this time. Father in heaven, we love you tonight, and we thank you to be involved in your work. It's the greatest work, and we're glad to be a part of it. I thank you for Logan. I thank you for those that served on the finance committee, and I thank you for each member that's here. And I pray that you would just use the church in this upcoming year for your honor, for your glory. May we be able to accomplish those things we've set out to do, and may you have your hand on it all. For if your hand's not on it, Lord, it's not worth it. And so we ask your hand of blessing upon it all in Jesus' name. Amen.